A federal court to keep Title 42 in place. That's the pandemic-era restriction that allows many asylum seekers to be turned away.
Title 42 is set to drop 2 weeks from today. We're averaging about 6,000 or 7,000 illegal crossings every single day, and DHS projections show once Title 42 drops, their upper projections say we could get upwards of 18,000 illegal crossings every single day. That would be almost a tripling of the current record-breaking situation.
Fox's Bill Malugin in Hidalgo, Texas. The White House and the Homeland Security Secretary had said preparations were underway for the change after seeking to end the CDC rule this spring. Now, Reuters is reporting they will appeal a federal judge's ruling that invalidated the restrictions and that the CDC is working on a regulation to formalize the border restrictions. Earlier today, a bipartisan bill unveiled aimed at preventing border agent suicides.
What they've been exposed to 100% has an impact on you.
Texas Republican Congressman and veteran Tony Gonzalez. The bill includes more funding for mental health resources. A sweeping defense policy bill has a provision the president doesn't like, rescinding a military vaccine mandate.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says it's a mistake for Congress to require the Pentagon to lift the COVID vaccine requirement.
Making sure our troops are prepared and ready for service is a priority for President Biden. The vaccination requirement for COVID does just that.
Ending the vaccine mandate for service members is included in a bipartisan defense policy bill. While expressing opposition to the provision, the White House stopped short of issuing a veto threat.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. While most service members have had COVID shots, thousands have been discharged because of the mandate. America is listening to Fox News.
This view was worth a hike.
Right? And it's a good way to stay on top of my health.
Yes, I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening option for people 45 plus at average risk. Have you screened for colon cancer?
Not yet.
Don't wait. It's more treatable when caught in early stages.
Tell me more.
Cologuard is non-invasive and it's used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers.
92%?
Yup, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study with patients 50 and older. Any positive result should be followed by a diagnostic colonoscopy. False positive and negative results may occur. Cologuard is not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. Do not use if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colon cancer.
Most insured patients pay $0. Ask your provider or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you, or visit Cologuard.com.
I'm in.
5 more suspects are ordered to stand trial over a plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer after others were convicted.
4 Michigan men, Michael and William Null, Eric Molitor, and Sean Fix, along with Brian Higgins of Wisconsin, face charges including supporting terror acts and gun crimes. Judge Michael Stepka said evidence presented during a preliminary hearing was enough to warrant a trial. All 5 men allegedly attended planning meetings and scoped out the Whitmer vacation home, making plans to cut off rescue access if the plot had been given the go-ahead. In all, 14 people have been arrested on either state or federal charges in association with the kidnapping plot. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
A Justice Department watchdog finds multiple failures in the Bureau of Prisons before a high-profile inmate was beaten to death 4 years ago.
The DOJ's Inspector General says there was no evidence of malicious intent, but there were several Bureau of Prison Management failures before James Whitey Bulger was killed behind bars. The IG report recommended 6 Bureau workers be disciplined after finding officials had shared information about Bulger's transfer so freely, 100 prison workers were aware of it, as were several inmates. The notorious mob boss from Boston, who was sentenced to prison for racketeering and murder, was moved from a prison in Florida where he was housed alone to general population at a prison in West Virginia after he'd threatened a nurse.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. 3 inmates were charged with conspiring to kill Bulger in 2018, pleading not guilty. The Yankees still not confirming a record deal to keep Aaron Judge in pinstripes. The American League home run record holder and MVP reportedly agreeing to a 9-year, $360 million contract, biggest ever for a free agent. Also the highest average annual payout for a position player at $40 million per year, if it's finalized. Lisa Brady, this is Fox News.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather. Freezing Sonoma, Champaign, and this Saturday. Nice mild start to the day and a mild weather pattern to continue on for the foreseeable future. No real cold air inside. Boy, it's an increasingly active and moisture-laden one, however. In the coming days, no shortage of weather systems on the move. One expected here tomorrow night into Friday. More dynamic one featuring a bigger warm-up in temperatures expected the first half of next week. Some areas of fog around here early to mid-morning. Otherwise, a mostly cloudy day. Up close to 50 in some spots and a couple of sun breaks as the afternoon wears on. Northeasterly wind on the light side. Clouds tonight 36. Tomorrow occasional rain up to 46 on a light northeast to east wind, but increasing throughout the day. More rain tomorrow night, low down to 43. A little rain, maybe some wet snow mixed in early in the day. Friday breezy at 43. Clouds for the weekend 41 to 42. The afternoon highs over the weekend. Increasing rain and thunderstorm activity late Monday and Tuesday next week. By Tuesday highs into the lower 50s. For CVJ Broadcasting, I'm Peter Olsha's Greg Solgay.
It's showtime.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Pipes is writing down a lot of stuff. I'm just going to go from the gut. And joining us now, Coach Bielema, Josh Whitman joining us now.
You get to say all the cool name drops.
Do it.
Brad Underwood, our guest.
College hoops.
How do you lose to Jackson State?
Call up every single person in the media that didn't put Kofi first team All-American. And I don't know, just play like clown noises.
I want to bet the Bears.
Oh.
Michael Porter Jr. has been good, but he thinks the earth is flat, so I can't pick him.
Oh, boy.
Throw it up to Kofi, and he's just going to tear the rim off.
How is he so good?
All right, Hans, I'm going to mute you for a while.
Okay.
Oh, there's a timeout on the court!
So what we want to do is build a same-game parlay that will win all of us some money.
Maybe Rondale Moore could beat Cooper Kupp, but he's not. Is it Instagram?
Yeah.
Is that what IG means?
I think you have to win the Big Ten title to win Big Ten Player of the Year.
Woohoo!
Wow, what a bad take.
Yes. All right, Pipes, I asked you for one of two wins, and you brought me back one. I was a little bit worried after the Maryland game about going over in the East Coast, but you did your job, and I love it. Good morning, everybody. It is The Drive. The Drive with Tay and Piper. I'm Lon Tay. Derek Piper to my left. The intern, Kyle, is here. We'll probably hear from him a little bit later on in the show as we chat a little bit of NFL. We got to continue to talk about that. I mean, we almost have to bring up a little Aaron Rodgers and the Bears. I mean, but we don't really have to.
Can we talk about another rivalry?
Yeah.
Very pertinent to this area.
Illinois and Missouri?
No, Cardinals Cubs.
Oh, we can definitely do that. Now, I have to say this, Pipes, before we get rolling on basketball, and I know we had a texter already on the U of I and Latin Lake text line say, I hope you guys can talk some basketball today. We're definitely going to do that, and we're going to get to a sleep-deprived Derek Piper and why that is. He was hitting the clubs, it sounds like, last night in Manhattan. Actually wasn't.
If only.
But I have to say this, and I have to be point-blank honest and transparent, and I'm dead serious when I say this, Pipes. I forgot yesterday to mention Cody Bellinger signing with the Cubs, and James Talion, is that how you say the kid's name? The pitcher?
Jamison. Talion or Talion?
Yeah. We'll say it like Harry did. And I'm bringing Jamison Talion around. So anyway, I forgot to mention that yesterday. So to be fair to the Cubs, we have to talk about those two signings before we move on to the next one.
All right, we'll get to that.
Is that fair? So we are going to talk some baseball today because the Cubs and Cardinals are kind of in the topic, if you will, of what happened today. And, of course, the Cubbies do some damage yesterday with some signings. But you, my friend, had one hell of a trip out east. It ended with zero sleep, and it wasn't because you were at a club. It's because you just had to get home. So explain to me what happened from the end of the Illinois game until you walking through this door telling me you're running on 90 minutes of sleep.
Yeah, it was a long night. Long night at the Garden. And Illinois was playing the early game, which we're actually thankful for, quote-unquote early. But, yeah, I got an interview with Jaden Epps' dad right after the game.
Sweet.
He was super fired up, obviously for great reason, where the freshman steps up and had some closing opportunities against Virginia. Maryland didn't come through, but Brad has shown a lot of trust in him. And, boy, hitting that corner three, stepping up and making both of those free throws, even though Chris Beard tried to ice him a little bit in the middle of that, and also got a big bucket there in overtime. So I talked to him about that. We do the post-game with Brad, the interviews, talk to Matthew Meyer, Terrence Shannon, Jaden, and do a podcast as we do after every game with Jeremy Warner and I on the Atlanta Inquirer podcast, which went long for good reason again. I mean, you upset number 2, and that was fun. Caught a little bit of the Duke-Iowa game, which was pretty much well in hand for Duke.
Right.
By the time I got back to my seat, they were up 15 with about 6 minutes to go, and Andy Olson from WCIA, we were staying at an Airbnb in New Jersey. We walked out of the Garden about 1 a.m. local.
Okay.
It's pretty decently heavy rain, and we have to walk to the subway station, subway from NYC across. I still didn't figure it out. We did it multiple times. How you get under a river via the subway. Engineering's way past my pay grade or academic understanding. Long story short, you get back there on the Jersey side about 2 a.m., and our flight was at 9 a.m. at LaGuardia. And as you know, traffic early morning. So long story short, I wrote, took a shower, packed my bag, and we got in the rental car and went over to LaGuardia. So I caught 90 minutes estimated on the flight home.
Oh, my goodness.
And here I am. I feel like I played 40. I didn't play at all. I didn't contribute to any of these wins, but I saw a really good one last night.
Well, let's touch on the TV guys. So Andy did his live shot, and he went back to the hotel and was sound asleep while you were writing. I mean, let's be honest. He had
a video package to edit, but he called it a night. I didn't ultimately call one. He got an hour, maybe 2 of sleep, and I cranked it out on the old keyboard.
Let me fill you in on what's going to happen next. You're going to get back home, and you're going to have a son that is fired up to see dad.
Yes.
And guess what? You're not going to sleep just yet.
I've already changed my first diaper since being back in town. Not my first since he was born, all right? Calm down out there. I know. Man, he's like 8 months old. He changed your first diaper. No, I didn't do that, but it was great to see him for a little while.
I bet.
And look forward to tonight and hopefully the next couple of days. Things not settling down as far as the season. You only got 4 more games, I think, in December.
Right.
Only 1 more road trip, so I'm looking forward to setting up camp here in Champaign after Vegas and New York. I know everyone's like, yeah, he had a really tough go going to those places. We put in some work. We had some fun. It was good.
I have questions, and I know you're tired, but I've got questions for you that I want to go through, and I want to ask our listeners at 217-359-2255. It's a simple question, but it really isn't. I want you to describe this Illinois team. Not you, Pipes, not yet. I want our listeners at 359-2255 describe this Illinois team. And the reason I say that is because I still can't figure them out. And it's not a bad. I'm not saying anything negative about that with regards to the squad, because obviously they have beaten UCLA, who was a top 10 team in the country at the time. That's going to look sparkling come March. They defeat Texas on a neutral site. That's going to look really good come March. They take Virginia to the wire, essentially, toe-to-toe in Vegas on a neutral court. That won't hurt you at all come March. And really, the loss to Maryland, yes, they lost to Wisconsin, but Maryland was undefeated into that Wisconsin game. And I think Maryland's going to be a tournament team. So really, you don't have a bad blemish on this schedule, and I don't honestly see one until the Big Ten starts, and maybe even not then, but you get what I mean. But you've got a team here that has really impressed across the nation. And yet when I watch it, it's every night is somebody different. And I guess maybe that's how I would describe this team, in the sense that sometimes I don't understand the flow of what they're trying to do. And Brad Underwood even said that in the press conference. He's like, you know what? Sometimes I just kind of rely on them. I just trust them. Hey, give somebody the ball and make something happen. And I know that could be a cop-out for people that say, oh, yeah, well, run a play. The coach has got to coach better. Well, look, I mean, that's not every time down the court. This isn't, junior high or high school basketball where we're calling 1, 2, or 3 and running a play. I mean, this is allowing elite athletes that are really good at basketball to kind of do their thing. But, I guess the amazing thing about this Illinois squad, I mean, you look at last night, you look at the UCLA game, they were down double digits in those games. And if you were pessimistic, you would leave them for dead. And yet, what do? They come back. They show zero stress. I mean, they had weird stuff happen with some issues on some shots. Coleman took a crazy 3. Then he takes a timeout that you're like, whoa, where would that come from? And yet they just continue to answer the bell. And I don't know if this is a prize fighter that just every round gets beat up and he's down on points, and in the 11th or 12th round they just knock the other dude out. And they're like, well, I had him losing the bout the entire time, but then he threw a right punch and that guy's done. It's a bad analogy. The point is, Pipes, I can't figure this team out, and maybe it's part of there's so many new pieces, whereas the last 2 or 3 years I knew exactly what to expect. I knew Trent would do this. I knew Kofi would do this, double-double. I knew Io would do this. This year, I don't know, and it's pretty stinking fun trying to figure it out. I'm enjoying it.
It is a really fun team. And it's one that you can't fully figure out yet because they haven't figured out themselves.
I agree.
And that's really offensively where, I think the storyline that I was formulating in my head and getting prepared to talk about after the game was when you go on a stretch of scoring 2 points in 9 minutes and everything there falls apart and Texas takes control of the game and Illinois just has ugly turnover numbers and over-dribbling. And like you said, they really – it didn't just look like they weren't running anything. They weren't running anything offensively.
No.
Now, that is, to this point, mostly by design, and that Brad wants the ultimate freedom for guys that can space the floor. When Coleman's your 5, you play that 5-out offense, and you try to be – I know Coleman called in the offseason kind of like structured randomness, and I know that, I don't think you always –
that would be a great rock – like a rock album cover.
I agree.
Structured randomness.
It's pretty much what it is, but it's letting guys with athleticism and skill be able to create and read and react. Now, those reads and kind of just feeling each other out offensively from a chemistry standpoint still has to play out, but there are some wild swings with this team. There are some scoring droughts, and they've been on the ropes even in some of their big wins, the UCLA game and the Texas game. But to that point, this is a really gritty, tough, resilient team.
Yes.
And one that has a lot of ability. Like, to be able to have the marquee wins that you have already, to be still so fairly new with each other together, and understand, well, yes, you have wins against preseason top 10 teams in UCLA and Texas. You put those at the top of your resume. You don't have a bad loss. Like
no.
Maryland on the road where you had a chance to win late. Virginia, you're leading with 3.5 to go against one of the most experienced teams in the country, an unbeaten team, a team that's top 5 in the country. And then you still have so much more that you can figure out, and potential-wise haven't really come close to it. So I know that the overreaction is, and I fully understand it. Look, Texas was number 2 in the country. I mentioned it. I've said it a number of times. They were on a short list of teams that you'd say could win it all. Well, then you beat that team, and you're on the list of quote-unquote could win it all. And I'm not going to push back on that. Is this team, like, should we tab them as a Final Four squad, as a national title contender? I think their potential is that, but there are going to be some games where maybe they are 10 back and it's ugly offensively and they don't come back. Or it's a game where they shouldn't be messing around with a team like a Penn State on a Saturday. And I still expect this squad to have some ups and downs. But prior to this road trip, I said decently confidently that I think they're ahead of the curve. they're for sure ahead of the curve at this point. And the fact that they're getting the contributions they are from the freshmen. Now, it might not be the freshman you would have pinpointed going into the year.
That's the funny part,
which is awesome. And I think just the fact that you can look at a Sky Clark and a Ty Rogers and say there's still a lot more they can give you. We saw what Matthew Meyer's capable of last night, and I know Brad is taking a lot of joy and just confidence in that it can be different guys on different nights.
Yeah.
And that shows the depth, it shows the talent, and it's just a fun team. And one that has a lot of answers for you and one that is really, really good defensive. They have a chance to be one of the best defensive squads out there.
We have a lot of responses on the U of I Land Lake text line, and I'm going to get to those next segment, I promise. But I'm asking you, the listeners and Illinois fans, describe this team. How would you describe this Illinois basketball team? Because I don't know. I think we could get 100 different answers on describing what this team is about. You said it with defensive intensity. There's no doubt this is a deep team, obviously. Sometimes I like to look at it the other way. I've told you this before. Sometimes I like to look at it from the opponent and say, okay, I mean, we worry about, all right, what are we going to do with Marcus Carr? What are we going to do with this kid? How are we going to handle Texas and if they get out and run? Sometimes it's neat to kind of flip it around, kind of look at yourself. I don't know how the hell I would guard Illinois. I'm taking Terrence Shannon as far away from a game as possible. Now, I don't know how easy that is, but Terrence Shannon didn't score a point until the second half, if I'm correct.
Yes.
And then he goes off in overtime, and I'm sure Chris Beard's over there going, oh, no, here he goes. And it started with just a little floater, not even a floater, it was just a little pull-up in the lane. Then he comes down, he makes a nice shimmy, hits a three. Then he comes and gets an and one, and just basically does it by himself for like a minute stretch and 7 points. And I'm sure at that point, Chris Beard is like, yeah, we're in trouble. Because Terrence Shannon, who somehow we've controlled, is now on fire. Matthew Meyer looked like he was playing that, what was the video game where you would shoot and you'd get on fire?
NBA Jam.
Yes. I mean, he was doing that last night. He was making moves. Everything he threw up, I don't think he touched the rim until late when he kind of like floated one in the lane and it bounced around a little bit and went in. Or that, or he missed. I don't think he missed. He didn't miss from deep. It's amazing how this team, and then we know what Coleman can do. We know what Coleman Hawkins can do. We've seen what R.J. Melendez can do. This is such a deep team, and this is my next point that I want to ask you. This is such a deep team, and you still are adding Luke Goody to this team eventually. And that is a kid that I think will definitely help us. I think you saw in the Maryland game where you could have really used Luke Goody. And I know one of our texters, which I'll get to, mentioned when Luke Goody comes back, we will absolutely destroy zones, which Illinois pretty much has destroyed zones this season. Here's the point I'm getting to, and you and I have laughed about this before. The thing that I can't stand about fantasy football, number one, I can't stand having a really crappy team like I have this year. The other thing I can't stand is the complete opposite, is when I've got like 3 receivers that are all elite, and I can't figure out which one to play. And you have to sit one knowing that you're going to make the wrong decision that Sunday, right, on that guy. I'm sitting here evaluating this team and thinking that Brad Underwood, as much as he loves this team and as much as he has to look at this roster every day and just sleep soundly at night, he's like got to be a mad scientist right now in his mind trying to figure out, man, every game I got to figure out what 5 guys to have on the court at the right time. And am I leaving a guy on the bench that would be creating havoc and scoring right now or defensively be dominating? This might be his toughest coaching to date in a good way.
Yeah, it's a great
Almost
problem
as
to
though
have.
I just say, Brad, here, I'm going to give you 12 guys that can all not embarrass themselves on a court. You figure out, you can only play 5 at a time. Good luck, coach. I'll see you at game time. I mean, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, it's fascinating because Coleman at the 5 is such a weapon, not only in terms of his ability to stretch you out as far as the big man and how he can pass on the perimeter. He didn't have the best shooting game against Texas. Of course, we saw what he was capable of. And I mean, the triple-double against Syracuse, but he's gotten hot from 3 in a couple of games. We saw early on him splashing those against Maryland. And defensively, it's a big problem because he switches under your guards, and you might get in your mind, oh, I got a 5-man on me. Good luck going by that dude. Like the way that he moves, how long he is, the way he's blocking shots. Like Illinois is top 15 in the country in block percentage on defense. That's not all Coleman because you got just length and athleticism everywhere. Like RJ's capable. Matt Meyer had a handful of blocks last night. And on the flip side, you could say, okay, Coleman's great at the 5, but we also really like the ability to throw it into Dane.
Mm-hmm.
And Dane had some moments there against Texas that could score on their undersized 5 men. And I think also you look at the backcourt where Sky's your starter. You know Jaden's going to come in and be a bucket getter. And right now Brad's going with Jaden late in games. No matter how you structure that, both of those guys are going to play. So it's not like a pick and choose of,
right.
All right, one night we're going to play one like 35 minutes. The other guy's going to play 5.
Good call.
I think what's interesting, though, is, and before you even throw Luke Goody in the mix, which could complicate some more things, is Sincere someone you feel like you should play.
Goodness, Derek.
Because of the way that he's impacting defensively was key to really flipping that switch there in the second half, which we can pinpoint multiple games now in an early stretch of a schedule of saying Sincere. I know the UCLA game, Brad was he's the first guy that he mentioned in that post game for good reason, is like the way that he's getting after it. I mean, he had a great block at the rim. He was guarding Marcus Carr late in the game. I mean, Marcus Carr's a 5th-year senior that's having a really good year up to that point, and then Marcus had kind of the type of game you've grown accustomed to seeing when he plays Trent Frazier. Obviously, Sincere's not that, but that was really impressive. And it's just in terms of lineups, he's got a lot to play with. I think offensively, we'll see him get more comfortable with what he likes. Like, okay,
I agree.
When we want to get a bucket here, we got this mismatch. We're going to run this, or we're going to just kind of create this kind of action. Where right now it's a little bit more of that randomness, or of that just kind of let it percolate and play out. But I think offensively, we'll see this team get more and more in sync. Defensively, it's pretty good to see. We saw them have some tough stretches in the first half against Maryland. Their transition defense was really bad, but for the most part, when they're locked in and sound, and I should mention RJ Melendez too. I know I talked to him about him with his length on defense, but there's still another level that RJ can hit, because we've seen some stretches where it's like, man, RJ's really good with hitting shots and providing energy. If he can bring that over a full course of a game and start to stack some consistency, all of a sudden you just got so many weapons.
Sincere Harris is like, we could call him Mr. Intangible. Like, he does something every game that makes a difference, it seems.
Yes.
Even in he missed a shot in that game, got his own rebound and threw it in. Now, man, it's like, okay, Lon, a lot of guys have done that. But just in the moment, it was a big play. And then didn't he have 2 blocks? He had one that led to an outlet that led to a dunk. And then he had one where he just kind of pinned the ball or something on the – he just seemingly does something right every game that makes a difference in the game. And I think that's what's incredible. I don't know. I watch this team, and do you think this team is comparable to Houston last year, the way they played defense?
Yes.
I know we always say this, we're reactive, right? We're always reactive. Like, everything we do in sports is, well, you know, this team had really good pitching, so we're going to go get good pitching. You know, it just seems like things are reactive, and I don't mean to be that way with Houston, but certainly watching that Houston-Illinois NCAA tournament game last year, you just got frustrated because that was a pretty good Illinois team that could score at a pretty high level, and there were times where it was just hard for them to get 1 or 2 passes and then a good look, and if they got a look, they didn't get a rebound. So I look at this Illinois team, the way they play defense and the way they can smother you and block shots and switch and do this and do that. I mean, is that kind of what we were watching last year against Houston? Is that what teams are and fan bases are watching now with us?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's in the mold of a Houston, in the mold of a Baylor. Now, are you at that level of executing as consistently as those guys? No, not yet, because we've seen the breakdowns, like the breakdowns against Maryland, the amount of open threes they allow. They're still getting caught in some problematic switching, some opportunities where they don't rotate correctly and leave shooters, and some of the finer details just have to be cleaned up. And again, like, this is a team that's not even 10 games into the season, and you expect them to, as the year goes on, just get more cohesive. I think they'll get better at playing, quote unquote, like scramble mode when, all right, I'm going to help here. This guy's got to rotate and cover me there. And then we we scramble out and be able to recover. They're getting better at that, and it's going to take some time. Again, they've had some lapses. I think that on the defensive glass, there's been some times where they haven't been the best, but for the most part, where teams in running their offense usually don't anticipate you switching 1 through 5. Like we saw what that did to Io and against Baylor. Now again, like, does Illinois have Mark Vidal?
Right.
Not really, but as far as just, okay, you're going to throw so much length at him. You'd love to put him in a ball screen, create that angle, and let him get downhill. Well, if you switch and you got a guy that all of a sudden's long and athletic, and you try to just create these opportunities for him to get in the paint, and it's not there, that this team can do that to you. And this team effectively bottled up Marcus Carr outside of the opening moments. Tyrese Hunter got it going a little bit early, but after that, I mean, they put up 42 on Gonzaga combined, and a really efficient 42. They had 19 points on 25 shots last night.
You're talking Hunter and Carr.
Hunter and Carr. I mean, it's one of the best guard tandems, at least so far this season, that's been out there, and they held them down pretty well.
Marcus Carr, Illinois has had some pretty good times against Marcus Carr. He's 0-4, right?
He has not beaten Illinois.
He hasn't. And I'm fine with the idea that he'll never beat Illinois. Like, I don't – in other words, I'll be fine not running into Texas again, although you've beaten them.
You've beaten him. Matthew Meyer's beaten him. I don't know why this slipped my mind. I knew Matthew Meyer was a Texas native. I didn't know he was from Austin, or I had forgotten that.
Oh, is he
He's
really?
only lost to Texas once.
Oh, my
and that was his freshman year. And, playing
Brian
in the Big
Cardinal.
12, you play him quite a bit. He had a big smile on his face last night. I asked him something to the effect of, was it different playing in the Garden? Because, players, like, that's kind of, quote-unquote, the Mecca. He's like, no, but I like playing Texas.
Right.
And he hurt his hometown squad. And
again,
Terrence Shannon Jr. showed Chris Beard why he went after him so hard in the recruiting out of high school based on what he showed in overtime for a guy that had a tough night up to that point.
Derek, this is a team that has beaten then 9th-ranked UCLA and now 2nd-ranked Texas. Think about that. Think about how far. And this is an Illinois – I mean, we've talked about Illinois football and what Brett Bielema's done, and can he get this sustainability going of 6, 7, 8, 9 wins? Yeah, I don't know that we're going to win 9 games a year, but if get that bowl every year kind of thing. We talk about that. This has been kind of a stair-step thing with Brad Underwood in two different ways. Recruiting to the point now where, Derek, if we recruit a kid that's like 78th in the country, I'm like, like what's wrong with him? You know what I'm saying? And 10 years ago, if you would have told me Illinois got a shot at a top 100 kid, I'd be like, are you serious? Like, we won't get that one. Now it's like, oh, he's 78th. Surely there's somebody better than that. And then you're talking now about a program that is going out on a non-conference, I always say that, Wylon, on neutral courts and knocking off top 5 teams and or with Virginia, taking him to the wire, having a lead, like you said, with under 4 to play. This is a whole nother level. 89 was incredible. 05 was incredible. I'm not putting them in the same thing. But just on a night in and night out basis to have the talent, what Brad Underwood has brought to Illinois, and what I know March has been the bugaboo, and I get it, and he's got to prove it to us. But on a regular season basis with the night in, night out stuff that this team shows you, they just beat number 2 Texas.
Yeah, they did. And I know obviously the transfer portal is a game changer. To be able to go out and get proven guys like Terrence Shannon and Matthew Meyer, throw in a former top 100 at the time when he committed to Baylor, top 50 guy in Dane Danger.
Yeah.
So that's helped a lot. But, yeah, the standard of what's expected in recruiting has really changed. The guy in that, 78 to 100 range was Sincere Harrison. That guy looks pretty good.
I'll take him.
You'll take him.
I'll keep him.
Yeah,
I'll keep him.
Yeah, you absolutely will. But, as far as how talented they are, you're being able to stack those recruiting classes, be able to go out in the portal, understand that Illinois is super competitive on the NIL front in terms of selling the wins, the opportunity to really try to win Big Ten titles, go deep in the tournament, which, of course, is still something they're trying to do. But the stat of Brad Underwood, which of course spans over the last couple of seasons, but for this not to miss a beat, they're 12-5 in the last 17 against top 10 teams.
Unreal.
12-5 the last 17 times they played a top 10 team. That's crazy.
That's unreal.
And to have two of them already early on this season in a year where I thought, yeah, they'll have a game against maybe one of these marquee teams where they'll win even convincingly.
Yeah.
But they'll have a night where maybe it is against a Texas or a UCLA where things don't go right and they take a lump. Like, not only just lose, but like it's tough sledding. They're not non-competitive, and it looks like a team that's got a ton to figure out. They haven't really had those. Now, they've been in moments where they've had to rally back, but to be able to have the marquee wins, to be painfully close in some other ones, and then to, like, when Syracuse comes to town, a team you're supposed to beat, you absolutely just beat the brakes off of them. It's pretty impressive.
How was the crowd, Illinois crowd? Good?
Yeah. I mean, they're always going to show up.
Can I say something so John Rothstein, I know a lot of our listeners know
I know
John.
where you're going, and I agree with you.
Don't get me wrong. John is a good dude, and he likes Illinois, and, he always does here comes the pain, or here, bring the pain, or
here
something.
Comes the pain.
Yeah.
And then tweets the T-shirt link.
Oh, yeah, right. So if you didn't see it on Twitter, John Rothstein said, this Illinois fan base is maybe the most underrated fan base in the country, or is the most underrated. And I take issue with that, because I'll tell John right now, this fan base has always been, in my mind, a great fan base. And it's not just because I'm an Illinois fan. You can go back to the 80s with Illinois fans that travel, especially. And, you look at the last, when you compare especially Big Ten basketball, and I know that for years the Assembly Hall, now State Farm Center, holds a lot of people. So that helps you climb that ladder in terms of top 10 in the country, top 20 in the country in terms of attendance, but you still have to people buy tickets. They still got to go, right? Or they at least have to buy tickets. I just, the underrated part of that tweet is wrong. This isn't an underrated fan base. This is a great fan base. Mm-hmm. And this is a fan base, maybe there's one, maybe two other fan bases in this country that deserve a national title as much as Illinois. I don't know who that is. But when it comes to either football or basketball, this is probably the one fan base that deserves a national title more than any. Like, that whole, the best golfer to never win a major. Steve Stricker could be that guy, an Illinois guy. Mm-hmm. The Dusty Baker finally got a World Series. One of the best managers to never win a World Series. You could go through that list. That's what it is about Illinois. The best fan base to never win a national title. So, John, I love you. I don't love him. John, I like you. I think you do a great job, and he does do a great job. But don't call us underrated, because that is an insult to us. This is a great fan base. This isn't an underrated fan base.
I'm with you. When I first saw that, and he's tweeted it a handful of times. And it's about getting some retweets, favorites. Some likes, the interactions. And
there's no doubt.
I think there is some merit to it, because when I was watching the Indiana-North Carolina game, and they talked about how Indiana is one of the best venues out there, and then they started listing it off, and it's like Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky. They mentioned Purdue.
Yep.
And you don't get to Illinois. Now, I think that when you have a big game and it's humming here in Champaign, it's as good as ones I've seen. I've been at Mackey Arena. I would rate that number one. Assembly Hall's up there, but this one that used to be called Assembly Hall is pretty darn good in its own right. So I think sometimes a national perspective, if you pulled someone out in North Carolina, or you asked someone that wasn't in even maybe the Big Ten footprint, who are the best fan bases out there, they might not list Illinois. They might not put them up there. So is it so preposterous to say they're underrated? No.
Okay.
But I look at them as one of the best fan bases out there. That's just the way to describe it versus being underrated. I think in general, even those that cover it closely know how impassioned and crazy and just hungry. This is one of the hungriest fan bases out there. And to see how they showed up in Vegas, to see how they showed up last night. I mean, Duke closer to Madison Square Garden. They had a good turnout too, but Illinois was right up there. So I don't look at them as underrated. I think that there will be some situations when some wouldn't give them their due, but they're one of the best out there for sure.
No, that's well said. And I think if 89 or 05, either one of those teams get it done, then I don't think it's even a question. I think a lot of what is being said, now Purdue would be the outlier there because have they even made a Final Four? I think the outlier of Purdue, but other than that, I think a lot of people are saying, well, these are great fan bases, but they're also the colleges that have won national titles. I think if 89 or 05 gets that done, then I don't think there's any question about this fan base at all. So, but it was interesting, and I normally don't get too fired up about guys that tweet on Twitter. Did I say that right? Guys that tweet on Twitter.
Yeah, that's accurate. But I do remember, like, early to mid-2000s, like, Champaign was thought to be one of the toughest places to play. You'd see...
You did not come in here and
broadcasts where longest active home court winning streaks. Illinois was up there, I think, at the top at one point. And as this thing continues to build and continues to stretch across even eras within Brad Underwood's tenure where you had Io and Kofi and Trent, and it was great. And now you bring in some new pieces and the success is still at a really high level, then I think that they'll get more and more of that due and as the success stretches across. But there's no doubt. I mean, when the success has been there and even when it hasn't, this has been a fan base that's again, really hungry. And
hungry is perfect.
As supportive and passionate as there are out there.
359-2255. A lot of you have texted in. I'll try to get to some of them. I can't get to all. There's been tons that have texted in on the U of I Line and Link text line. I asked you a simple question, but it's not simple. Describe this Illinois basketball team because I'm trying to figure them out, and I mean that in a good way. And Pipes did a great job of breaking it down, and obviously some great questions and great answers, that are coming up on our listeners. So I want to read some of those when we come back. Again, 217-359-2255. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can at The Drive 93.5. I'm at Lante, ESPN, CU.
I'm at D Piper 247. Our podcasts are on all platforms, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can also go to tayandpiper.podbean.com. Stream us live at stevej.com, stevejay.com. You can watch us live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. Just search Tay and Piper or The Drive 93.5. And to respond to the text line, yes, Rothstein's saying it in a positive
No, I agree.
fashion.
Oh, I totally agree.
It's a compliment.
Yeah, I get that. But I don't think he even needs to say that. Like, I'm not mad at John Rothstein for doing that. I think that's cool. And like you said eloquently, that is pointing out to people that follow him in Boise, Idaho, that follow him in Tempe, Arizona, that follow him in Jacksonville, Florida. They're looking at that going, oh, well, yeah, it must be, But I don't need to hear that. I know this is a great fan base. It's not underrated. I'd put it up against any fan base in the country, especially a fan base that's never won a national title. If you factor that in, I would put Illinois fan base up against anybody. First of all, it's a dumb thing anyway. How are you going to ever judge a fan base? But you can judge it by the fact that they dominated Vegas, and everywhere they go, there's a big contingent. In fact, I guarantee you, Tampa, when we get down to the ReliaQuest Bowl, there's going to be a lot of hungry, as you put it, Illinois fans that are going to be in attendance at that bowl game. And
some thirsty ones, too.
Yeah, and some thirsty ones. Speaking of that, not speaking of that. Hey, I just want to point out Kyle's done a good job filling in while you've been gone.
Appreciate it, Kyle.
And Derek, listen to this.
Happy holidays from Pia's. Sports fans, take note of your Christmas party from 5 to 8 p.m. Thursday, December 15th, and Friday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. December 16th. Pia Claus will make an appearance and hand out gifts from J&J Ventures along with holiday cash. Enjoy Coors Light, Captain Morgan, and Miller Lite with a great holiday spread. Thursday, December 15th, 5 to 8 p.m., and Friday, December 16th, 7 to 10 a.m. Pia Claus is coming. 1609 West Springfield Avenue in Champaign. Merry Christmas.
If you need insurance, you gotta go to Insurance Providers Group. They can help you like they've helped me. Hi, it's Jay Lehman. Insurance Providers Group can get you a quote on all aspects of personal, business, agricultural, life, and health insurance and employee benefits. They represent many insurance companies that allow them to provide you with the most competitive rates and the best coverage. Call Kyle Lewis at 217-352-7080 or email kyle@ipgins.com or go to the website for a quote at ipgins.com.
Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing has what you're looking for in supplemental heating and cooling in your home, garage, or shed. The super high efficiency of a Daikin ductless mini split is great to add to those areas that just don't heat or cool the way they should. By installing a Daikin mini split, you may qualify for a $700 rebate. For more information on the Daikin mini split, call Dogtown today at 217-841-4728. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend.
Welcome winter this December at Urbana Park District's Anita Purvis Nature Center. The winter solstice celebration is December 17th from 4 to 7 p.m. Everyone is welcome. People under age 15 must be accompanied by an adult. Join us around a fire for snacks, stories, and tree decorating. You will also get the chance to reflect on 2022 and look ahead to 2023. This is a free event, but please call the Nature Center to reserve your spot. 217-384-4062. Welcome winter December 17th at Anita Purvis Nature Center. Learn more at urbanaparks.org.
During challenging times, family and health come first. This is Eric Boland with Provident Financial Group. Many of us have spent the past year feeling a little bit out of control. There are steps you can take to help plan for a better financial future. Now's the time to take action and create a financial plan that's right for you. Contact us today at 217-366-3456 or find us online at providentfinancialgroupllc.com.
Securities and advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, member FINRA, SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
Switching is easy. We do it all the time. We switch on the lights. We switch TV channels. Some of us switch partners while square dancing. Well, that's a stretch. But what's not a stretch is how you can switch and save with State Farm. In fact, State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow right here in Champaign-Urbana can switch you over so you can start saving today. Kurt and his team are ready to welcome you to the State Farm neighborhood. It's easy to switch and save. Just give them a call when you want the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
If you want a steak, I mean a steak, prepared the way you want it, you've got to go to Long Branch Steakhouse. Hi, it's Jay Lehman. It's been over a year since I was introduced to Donnie at the Long Branch Steakhouse in Gifford. And when I want a great steak, that's where I go. And the sides, the Brussels sprouts, the mac and cheese, and the salad with Donnie's secret frog dressing. Long Branch Steakhouse in downtown Gifford. Open Wednesday through Saturday from 5 to 9 p.m. There's always room for the Long Branch Steakhouse.
Hey, Illini fans, it's Georgia B at Stevie J Broadcasting, and you are listening to the amazing ESPN Radio 93.5.
It is The Drive, ESPN Radio 93.5. The Drive with Tay and Piper. The intern Kyle is here as well, doing our Pia's spots that we used to do.
How many takes, Kyle? How many
you don't want to know.
One?
It was one.
Oh, my God.
Pipes, we're done.
Okay.
We talked about it off the air. You and I are going to be like painting houses soon.
Fair enough.
And Kyle's
going to start in the spring? It's a little cold.
Right.
Inside the house.
Yeah,
okay, we're
start
good.
Inside, I guess. I would listen. Just a little tidbit with regards to my painting skills. You better start me in your unfinished basement. Do not rely on me to be in like your hardwood living room painting because it would be a mess. I'll promise you that. Yeah, I don't know, Kyle. Yeah, one take. It just whatever. Whatever, Kyle. I'm putting your mute. You're on mute. All right, let's read. I want to read a couple of. I asked you, the Illini fan, describe this Illinois team. 712 said defensive intensity is going to keep them in so many games. Offense and free throws are still finding their way. I would agree with that.
Yes.
And Pipes, you mentioned the defensive intensity as well. Gary says a deeper Flying Illini 89 squad. Look out when Luke Goody comes back. We will destroy zone Ds. Good call, Gary, on that. And I think Stevie J even said that this morning. He's like, these are teams that are deeper than 05 and 89 and maybe seemingly have the same kind of a talent. I know. I mean, look, Terrence Shannon's an All-American.
He's got a chance to be.
And
both him and Coleman are in some mock drafts in the first round.
So
Matthew Meyer's been at NBA combines.
Yep. And listen, if anybody's mad at that statement, I'm with you in the sense that I got to see this happen in 2023 in terms of March.
Right.
And April, maybe.
I think the depth of talent you could stack up.
That's probably the better way
That's
to say
even where I would, people say this is the most talented team that Brad has had.
Okay.
I'm like, well, Ayo, Kofi, Trent.
I know.
Curbelo when he was good.
Yeah.
Adam Miller. Like, that was a really talented team. Maybe more top-heavy than this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd take 2 All-Americans and Ayo. And Kofi, look, it'll sort itself out. We'll have a better read at the end of the season.
Right.
But I think that if you're going to say depth of talent, like the number of really, really good players, top-level recruits, this is the deepest team that Brad's had, and I think depth of talent could even stack up against some of the great Illini teams.
Yeah.
But
so many weapons.
You still got to tread a little lightly with some of the
yeah, you're right.
The flying Illini in 05, right?
Yeah, I know you do, and I'm glad I got called out on that. Wade said, "Next man up, organized chaos." And that's a good way to say
it.
What was the thing that you had said that Coleman?
Structured randomness.
I love that. I'm telling you, that needs to be Carp's next album cover. If he has those. I don't know that he does those. Scott, different than any other. Normally they would fold like a pop can last night, but they are fighters. Doesn't matter how bad they play, they're always in the game at the end so far anyway. I agree. Matt, this team is only scratching the surface. They've been way better in the non-con than I expected, and I'm confident at the end of the year they will be considered as one of the teams that can win it all. Hard to argue. Big Def, the word that comes to mind is adolescent, a little uncoordinated and awkward, but they're getting used to being one body. Well, this is a pretty talented body in that regard, but I get where you're going there. Yeah, I mean, it's just 6-5-1 winners. Randy said when Meyer's hot, we can beat anybody. I mean, I agree. It's just, this is just one of those teams that is doing some amazing stuff. And I wanted to play, I'm not going to play a lot, but Brad Underwood, his opening statement last night was pretty good. It's about a minute, maybe a minute 30. Here's Brad.
It surprises every night. I don't know who's going to do it. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what it'll look like. We had a Matthew Meyer sighting, which was very nice to see and much needed. But then it's, Sincere Harris with his defense and a couple timely offensive putbacks, his activity. Then it's Jaden Epps off the bench. That's Terrence Shannon who, 5 stitches in his eye and playing against his old ball coach who he loves and was slow getting going. RJ Melendez a couple big shots, and then Terrence just kind of took over, and it was Dane Deja in the first half had a lot of really positive moments. So I don't know where it's coming. I think that's the beauty of our team. We were about as ugly a basketball team as you could be in that 16-2 run. We didn't look like we could beat a high school team, and yet we've had those moments, and we've been able to fight back in a lot of games and find our way back. Our defense settles in. I thought we did a great job on on Tyrese and Marcus. I think Tyrese had a couple threes, but all in all, that's a hell of a basketball team. They're number 2 for a reason. They're old. Chris is. I've known Chris for 100 years, and I have a ton of respect for him. And tonight we just happened to find a way. But they're going to have a great year, and excited about the win.
No idea that Brad Underwood was that old. I had no idea. That's pretty impressive. Look, I looked at you during that soundbite, and I'm like, this is perfect. It's a perfect soundbite. Because he's like, I have no idea where this is coming from. Like, not that – and what he means is each night, I have no idea. I could almost tell you the last last year, and maybe a lot of it is that. I could tell you what Kofi's going to do tonight. He's going to double-double. I could tell you that Trent's probably going to hit 2 or 3 threes, play good defense, and score about probably 12 points, 12 to 14. I could tell you that Io is going to have a stretch in any game that he just absolutely dominates. He's going to score 16 to 20. He's going to pick up 6-7 rebounds, and Illinois is going to win. I could almost tell you that. I have no – you told me – like if you said to me, all right, what's Matt Meyer going to do against Maryland? I told you he was going to double-double, and he scores 2 points. And then if you would have said, all right, Lyle, what's he going to do against Texas? I would have been like, I don't know, 6 points? And he goes out and does – what did he finish with?
21. A career high, he said last night.
Is it really? That's amazing. I wanted to play one more from Brad, kind of about just kind of him adjusting to this team.
It's different. You know, for 3 years I've had Io, Trent, and Kofi. And then I've had, really solid role pieces. It's taken me a bit. I'm swallowed up, and I'm full with the capacity that this team and the ceiling this team has, but yet I still don't quite have a grasp. I sit there and look at a play card and going, man, okay, we just kind of spread the floor and do a couple little things, and that's our best offense sometimes. So that's very different. We're trusting our players, and that's to make the right plays. So it's different, and it's not as comfortable maybe as I like it sometimes.
There you go, Brad Underwood. How was the Garden? Is that your first trip?
It was.
Can I ask you this? Be honest. We as Cardinals fans, it's the baseball heaven. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, Busch Stadium's beautiful. But you've walked into other stadiums. I love Wrigley. I'm sure I'd love Fenway. I've walked into other stadiums where I'm like, well, this is nothing against Busch, but this is cool too. Is the Garden, is it just because of what it is, the iconic Madison Square Garden? I mean, in terms of just a flat-out arena, is it that special?
It's pretty cool. I think when you see how big it is from the outside, like in the middle of the city.
That's a good point.
And how it's lit up, and it looks like, the bright lights right in the middle of Manhattan, like a big-time venue. You go in, it's not as huge, like in terms of seating, as I would have thought. I don't know what the capacity is, but there's only 2 levels. You hear about the ceiling. It's like a gold painted ceiling or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, it's pretty cool. And just kind of the way I don't know how to describe it. Kind of like at Staples Center with the way that the lights hit the floor, and it's just kind of the spotlight of the arena. There's a sense of I don't know what it is.
Like things are dark, but
like the lights are brighter. It's a bigger stage for whatever reason. But yeah, I think that the biggest thing to me is as you start to play back moments in your head that you remember watching, or you see clips of the Bulls-Knicks playoffs, and there's even there was a poster in the hallway of John Starks dunking on MJ and another guy where it goes, the dunk.
I love it.
Of course, they didn't have one of Scottie Pippen dunking on Ewing. Well, they didn't have that up anywhere.
They forgot that one,
I
get it.
It's part of just kind of the mystique of what's gone on in that building, maybe more so than
I love it.
The building itself.
From Sincere Harris to Frank Sinatra, just a lot of history.
Say so.
In that building. All right, we're going to catch a break. We got plenty more to talk about with Illinois, including Matt Meyer. You mentioned at 21 points, a career high. He's from Austin. He came out and he's got a little Jim Harbaugh in him. And I'll explain all that.
I can see it.
Next hour.
And I just want Cubs fans to know we went the whole hour without saying his name.
We totally did.
You'll hear it next hour.
Oh, boy. Is Trevor calling in? Where's Trevor? You want to call in?
'Tis the season for fresh-cut Christmas trees and greens to bring the sweet scent of holidays to your home. And at Prairie Gardens, you know you'll get your perfect fresh-cut Christmas tree with balsams, Fraser firs, and more. And incredible fragrant wreaths, fresh evergreen boughs, and garlands, all at prices you'll love. Plus, poinsettias fresh from the greenhouses. Exclusively at Prairie Gardens. Extraordinary gardening, home decor, framing, and
Ho, ho, ho! Totally Christmas.
It's the holidays and you want to shop local. Well, shop at one of the best locally owned retail stores in town. Pard's Western Shop, but it's far more than Western. Pard's has an incredible selection of clothing for men and women and boys and girls with the greatest service and the best boots you can buy. Don't shop online, support all that out-of-town stuff. Shop local. And Pard's will be open expanded holiday hours until December 23rd. They're open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, Sundays noon to 5. Pard's in Urbana, 306 North Maple between University and Maine in Urbana. You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Fox News. The Biden administration has announced an appeal of a court ruling that would lift Trump-era asylum restrictions that first took effect in March 2020, denying migrants rights to seek asylum on the grounds of spreading COVID-19. The restrictions were put in place under former President Trump at the outset of the pandemic. Federal investigators say the suspect in the shooting at a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs last month was on their radar.
Anderson Aldrich was arrested after being accused of threatening to blow up their entire family last year. Aldrich was booked on suspicion of felony menacing and kidnapping. But under a relatively new law in Colorado, the case was sealed. The district attorney said after last month's shooting he was hoping to be able to share more about that case, but so far nothing's been released. Now the FBI says they were informed of the suspect after getting a tip in June of last year and made an assessment after the threats made, but left the case in state hands. Aldrich's attorney says Aldrich is non-binary and goes by they, them pronouns. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
President Biden said to speak about an hour from now at a national vigil for victims of gun violence.
The president signed the most significant gun safety legislation in 30 years this summer, but he feels it's not enough. He believes that we need to do more, and he's been very vocal about that.
Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, who adds the president continues to call on Congress to pass a ban on assault weapons. 13 years in prison for former Theranos executive Ramesh Sunny Balwani for his role in the company's blood testing hoax. His sentence slightly longer than CEO Elizabeth Holmes, his former girlfriend and accomplice in one of Silicon Valley's biggest scandals. On Wall Street, the major indexes ended the day mixed. The Dow added just a point. The Nasdaq minus 56. The S&P lost 7 points. America is listening to Fox News.
This view was worth a hike.
Right? And it's a good way to stay on top of my health.
Yes, I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening option for people 45 plus at average risk. Have you screened for colon cancer?
Not yet.
Don't wait. It's more treatable when caught in early stages.
Tell me more.
Cologuard is non-invasive and it's used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers.
92%?
Yep, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study with patients 50 and older. Any positive result should be followed by a diagnostic colonoscopy. False positive and negative results may occur. Cologuard is not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. Do not use if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colon cancer.
Most insured patients pay $0. Ask your provider or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you, or visit Cologuard.com.
I'm in.
Family of a black man in Michigan is suing an ex-officer in the city of Grand Rapids in civil court for excessive force leading to the man's death.
Patrick Leoya was shot and killed after a traffic stop last April. Lawyers laid out their case, saying then-Officer Christopher Schur profiled Leoya and deviated from training to subdue him, as attorney Van Johnson implies.
The law provides a police officer is absolutely required to use as little force as possible.
Attorney Ben Crump also represents the Leoya family.
You should not be sentenced to death for a traffic stop.
This civil suit is announced as Schur prepares to stand trial for second-degree murder. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Another possible side effect of COVID-19 lockdowns during the pandemic, fewer twins.
Data from the Centers for Disease Control shows the number of twin births fell 7% between 2019 and 2020, with the biggest drops in November and December 2020. Now, the study can't prove it's lockdown related, but counting back the months, it would coincide with the start of COVID-related closures, making fertility treatments that can lead to twin births less accessible. The single birth rate fell less 3% that year, and the largest decline in twin births was for women over 40 who are most likely to use infertility treatment. Twin rates started to go back up at the end of 2021. Chris Foster, Fox News.
The ACLU of Missouri is suing a suburban Kansas City school district over its policy of automatically removing any challenged library material before it's reviewed. The lawsuit, filed on behalf of 4 parents in the district, comes after a parent in April challenged the children's book Cats vs. Robots, This is War, because it includes a non-binary character. The book was removed from shelves while a committee reviewed it, and the school board then voted to permanently remove it from elementary school libraries. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
It's showtime.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Pipes is writing down a lot of stuff. I'm just going to go from the gut. And joining us now, Coach Bielema.
Josh Whitman joining us now.
You get to say all the cool name drops.
Do it.
Brad Underwood, our guest.
College hoops.
How do you lose to Jackson State?
Call up every single person in the media that didn't put Kofi first team All-American. I don't know, just play like clown noises.
I want to bet the Bears.
Oh, Michael Porter Jr. has been good, but he thinks the earth is flat, so I can't pick him.
Oh, boy.
Throw it up to Kofi, and he's just going to tear the rim off.
How is he so good? All right, Hans, I'm going to mute you for a while.
Okay.
Oh, there's a timeout on the court!
So what we want to do is build a same-game parlay that will win all of us some money.
Maybe Rondale Moore could beat Cooper Kupp, but he's not. Is it Instagram?
Yeah.
Is that what IG means?
I think you have to win the Big Ten title to win Big Ten Player of the Year.
Woohoo!
Wow, what a bad take.
Man, there's a lot going on. Good evening, everybody. It is The Drive, ESPN Radio 93.5. The Drive with Tay and Piper. I'm Lon Tay, Derek Piper. To my left, Kyle, the intern, not happy with the Cardinals today. We'll get to that as we go along. Jim Leonard moving on. Our guy, not our guy. Grammatically, it's our guy.
Our guy.
Where's he going, Pipes?
I don't know.
But he's just
It was
not
reported right off the bat that he was going to stay on Luke Fickell's staff, but now apparently not.
Interesting. We don't have a spot for you, Jim.
Nice backup plan in case Ryan Walters finds something. Of course, we don't want that to happen.
No. How nice is that? We're like, well, Jim, I mean, I guess we got to do you want to just be like a GA? We don't really have a spot for you, dude. No, I'm kidding. You and I both love Jim Leonard.
One more football note.
Yeah.
Devin Leary.
Wait, did something happen?
You think it?
Oh.
What do you think?
Okay, so I was having this conversation yesterday, and someone asked me, would you rather have DeVito back or get Devin Leary? And I'm like, if I knew that DeVito was back and was doing what he did this year, I'll take DeVito. Because that's a known commodity, right? I mean, I know that Devin Leary has put up big numbers. He was hurt last year, but obviously the guy has put up huge numbers at NC State. But I also know what Tommy DeVito was last season. I don't know if that'll be an issue because I don't know if DeVito's coming back. I don't know where. I think Illinois got to know a lot more than we think. Because
you would hope the only problem is the NCAA is the one making the call, and in the past they have not been too hasty in making those calls on waivers and whatnot.
Nor have they gone our there we go again direction very often. Listen, I mean, if you can get a kid like Devin Leary to come in and kind of mentor his younger brother for a year and put up the numbers he's put up at NC State.
Not only mentor, I mean, if he's the guy that they expected to have at NC State this past year where he was the ACC preseason player of the year, projected high second-round draft pick.
Wow.
He's really, really good. Okay. I mean, DeVito, you mentioned I lay down on my pillow at night and think about the 70% completion percentage. There's something to be said for a guy that's been integrated in the offense.
Yeah, I agree.
And is really familiar with everything, but it's an interesting dynamic as far as the timing of that potential waiver. I fully understand and think they should pursue that for him unless they knew that Devin Leary was coming in and that was going to be the direction they go. But in terms of the ties to the family, the fact that his brother's already here and
bring him in.
It's a really good quarterback.
I just don't see DeVito coming back. I can't imagine he'd want to.
Would be his 7th season.
I mean, what is he, 24? Would you have wanted to be in college, honestly, at 24 or 25 years old?
No, I didn't want to be in college in my last year at 22.
You know that statement we always, if I only knew then what I know now.
Here's the thing, though.
Those guys literally know that. Like, they literally live that.
It was a little different if you would have opted for me to play or to have a 5th year at Illinois. I'm like, man, one more year at intramural football, flag football. We can get this title this year. We've been really close.
Let's get a shirt.
But at the same time, so like the difference of like coming back to play another year of college football, also NIL.
That's a good point. I don't know how much NIL money DeVito gets, but probably decent amount.
Say decent.
Sure, Tommy's fine. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I thought of this the other day. Like, I mean, I guess, again, a good problem to have, but how long can Illinois wait? And, again, maybe they know something already. I mean, you know, it may just easily be that Brett Bielema sent a thing in and the NCAA got back to him the next day saying, Brett, we appreciate you
next
coming.
Day shipping from the NCAA? That has never happened.
How funny. Hey,
ever.
Coach, you got a package here from Indianapolis. Says the NCAA on it. Oh, we'll bring that in here. We regret to inform you that Tommy DeVito. But, you know, I don't know. I just think if you have can you imagine if you got Leary and then you had DeVito? I don't think Leary would be that excited about it. But then again, they don't worry about competition, right? The better, the better.
Not to sidetrack us because we got a lot of hoops to talk about.
No, we do. In fact, I want to play one thing and then we'll get to Illinois men's basketball. Tonight, Shauna Green and the Illini women open their Big Ten the home Big Ten schedule. They just lost to Indiana, and Kyle said they're a top 5 team in the country, Indiana. And Illinois was in till the end. They lost
65-61.
Right? Wow. I mean,
at Indiana.
So we're seeing these things. Like, I'm completely in this, well, I've got to see it to believe it. With this, not because I don't trust that Shauna Green can do good things here, but it's just been a long time since we've seen anything worth wanting to see, essentially, on the women's basketball side. But certainly that is pretty impressive. And Shauna Green straight ahead of a game tonight at State Farm Center against Rutgers, 7 o'clock. You said tip. Shauna Green was kind of asked about the idea that, you know, you took Indiana to the wire. Or are you just happy with the moral victory?
That's what I want. I don't want them to be like, oh, you know, I'm happy we're in it. No.
Okay, I did everything wrong there. Every button that was supposed to be pushed on was not on, so I'm going back and I'm doing this again. Is that cool? Here we go. Here's Shauna Green.
And I want those. That's what I want. I don't want them to be like, oh, you know, I'm happy we're in it. No, I mean, that's great. But again, the mentality, the mindset, our expectation is to go and win every single game that the ball's tipped. So, but obviously Indiana is a really good team. I mean, they are a very good team. Definitely, you know, ranked what they should be with veteran players that have been in it. So, you know, I am, though, proud that we were, you know, right where we wanted to be. Like I always say, if we can at least be, we want to be in a position to win the game down the stretch, and we were that on Sunday.
There you go. That is Shauna Green. Man, it seems like she's getting the best of this team and has brought in some players to where Illinois is no longer a laughing stock, if you will, in the Big Ten and nationally.
It's great to see. I know that in the preseason when you heard her have her press conferences, and we didn't have her on our show, but we were trying to make that work. We had Calamity McIntyre, member of her staff.
Oh yeah,
it was just impressive they were impressive people.
Yes,
and I know that. I mean, John Gross could win a press conference early on, and not to knock John too much, but you can only gauge so much from a press conference. At the same time, she exudes a lot of confidence, and there was just a vibe about her, like, okay, she had something going at Dayton. Maybe she can make it work. The transfer portal helps. Makaira Cook coming in from the Flyers. Adelia McKenzie taking a big step forward as a sophomore and has played really well. And just early indications are that maybe the tide's turning.
That's awesome. That is awesome. You are Reba McEntire's niece. That is my favorite part of the entire intro.
Made the intro.
That is Reba McEntire's niece. That is so awesome. All right, Pipes, I got to play this again.
He needs to continue to be active on the offensive end because he can really score.
Look at these moves. Hey, what a play by Matthew Meyer, and he is feeling it right now. Meyer now with Cunningham on him, and Meyer wants a little space. He's feeling it.
Oh.
He is feeling it. Got it! Oh! And the 10 on the shot clock for the Illini.
I went too long. Matthew Meyer, you just heard it there, doing some things. He came out in that first half as a man-possessed, Pipes. What was going through your head when you were watching Meyer just coming out? He looked like a whole, just completely different player.
I was blown away. It was like watching someone have an out-of-body experience and how just confident and the ability to hit the pull-up three, and then I just unlocked everything where he's starting to handle the ball and just like, it was like he was in the gym at night against nobody, like making those type of moves. He didn't care who was in front of him, how closely he was guarded. He was just going to get a bucket, and it's something really unlocked for him. And I know that while he had some struggles throughout, even in the preseason, trying to get healthy, some of the buzz was like, just wait till we get in a big game and we know that he'll be there because he's been in those moments before. He rises to the occasion. And while he didn't do that against Maryland, man, that was the type of player that Illinois thought they were getting in the portal. Is one of the best transfers out there, a guy that's a really talented shot maker. I mean, there was a stretch where he gets a block, he snatches the rebound, he pushes it himself in transition, and then no one checks him close enough at the three-point line, just pulls up and hits it. And it just completely unlocked what looked like one of the better players in the Big Ten, and one that can really be a difference maker, and a guy that if he gets hot like that in a tournament,
oh my,
good luck.
There was one, I think it was Meyer, the reaction from Chris Beard on the sideline. He was just kind of like nodding his head like, yeah, I mean, I know you can do this, big boy. I mean, he's probably seen him do it, obviously. So, and you said he's never lost to Texas?
He's only lost
one
once to Texas as a freshman.
Wow.
And now he's in his 5th year in college basketball and getting another shot at him, and obviously took care of it.
He did. Now, I always make fun of Jim Harbaugh when it comes to post games because I don't know if Jim is the one that's actually laughing at us. That might be the way he's doing it. You know, because it'll just be like, Jim, you know, your quarterback play has been really good. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, our quarterbacks are pretty good, you know, but so is our defensive line too, you know. And I don't know. It just seems like he doesn't. You're not quite. Matthew Meyer's not like that, but this dude is like as chilled as anybody, right?
He is. As they say, he's a different cat.
He's a different cat. Here
not
he
in
is.
a bad way.
No,
but yeah, he's different. He's funny, and he's chill.
You know the voice. Jeremy Werner actually talked to him after the game. Just a quick little 40 seconds with Meyer. Here we go.
I don't know. I was just like in a really calm mood today. Like I just felt like I did not care at all coming into this game. So if I missed it, I don't think I would have cared. Yeah. I think that's why I made it.
Did it feel different than previously this season? Because I know you've talked about it's coming. The barrage is coming.
Yeah, I felt good mentally for sure, but it was more about my body feeling better. I've been dealing with a lot of stuff. I actually fasted today. I haven't eaten since noon.
Really?
So it's been like over 10 hours since I've eaten, and I felt so much more energetic out there. I think I'm going to consistently do that on game day.
Was that a plan going into today?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because I accidentally was almost late to practice the other day, so I didn't get any breakfast, and I felt so amazing playing. I was just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm just walking on air right now. I'm going to try this in the game. And I felt pretty good.
I love everything about that interview right there. That just his responses.
Walking on air, couldn't feel your legs. Like, it's a very fine line.
Yeah.
But it works out for him.
Here's you, Jeremy Wagner. You guys are trying to get legitimate, let's find something out. And Jeremy's trying to ask a question that's going to make sense. And he's like, yeah, I mean, look, my body, I didn't eat. And
we find out a lot with him. He's arguably the best quote, definitely the most interesting quote on the team.
Oh, man.
And I know that he set the record. We were joking this morning as we were half awake at the airport.
Yeah.
He set the record for the most y'alls in an answer since I've been on the beat. Obviously, you haven't had a ton of Texas guys.
Lovey.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't closely cover the football team,
call.
but as far as the basketball side,
yes,
he's a character.
Have you seen the meme of the dude walking up with, like, you know those chairs that you take to your youth baseball game? It's, you get them out of the thing and they pop up. Have you seen the meme of the dude that just walks up and goes and pops it out? And it's one of those, like, when somebody says something about somebody, it almost to the idea of, oh, I'm here for this.
Yes.
So here's what I picture Matthew Meyer. I picture him at some, like, pond that nobody's ever seen before. He pulls up in his pickup truck. He grabs a bucket out of the back that is loaded with Busch Light. He's got a toothpick in his mouth. He's got this hat on with a little bit of the what do you call that? He doesn't have it this year.
The mullet.
The mullet.
The flow in the back.
He's got his pole, and then he just walks up to the bank and just goes with that chair and just sets it down and just starts slaying fish. Like, that is a Matthew Meyer Saturday. And then he goes out that night and scores 21 against Texas. He probably found a pond somewhere. Was he at Central Park? Was he fishing?
I don't know.
Did they have a pond?
There was a frozen
Park?
pond in Central Park. There's the ice rink they got going on, but there might have been one that you could actually fish out of.
It's amazing. Well, listen, Brad Underwood is a guy that obviously understands that he needs to rely on Mr. Meyer as well.
We're relying on Coleman, Terrence, and Matthew, and we haven't had Matthew. I'm giddy just to see him. Okay, that's, I welcomed him to the orange and blue after the game, and he's done a lot of good things, but just to kind of see him take a deep breath and say, oh, because he is an unbelievable kid and he's a winner and he's been pressing and it's great to see that. So we're relying on those guys. And now as we go through some of these experiences, freshmen grow up, and that's, Dane's not a freshman but he's a freshman. He played 8 minutes. So all those guys are growing up, and we're playing them.
Yeah, and Brad is not afraid to play everybody on that roster and figure out which one are on that team, whatever, on that bench, and just basically saying, all right, stop me when we get the perfect 5.
Yeah. I give Brad a lot of credit the way he's handled this with Matt. Someone that had such high expectations coming in. It was alarming off the bat how, whether it was just not being 100% physically, which I know Matt, after last night's game, mentioned that he's still fighting it a little bit.
Yeah, I was
didn't go into too
that.
many details about as far as what he really is going through. I mean, the back issue is essentially, as far as we know, what's been nagging him. He did have I think it was a quad issue that had him withdraw from the combine. So
he still doesn't seem as explosive.
I agree. I've seen the
what
same
we
thing.
saw.
Yep, I'm right on the same page there with you. But for someone, I put it in contrast to when Joseph Girard from Syracuse came to Illinois, had a scoreless game, and Boeheim got asked about him and was real critical, was like, if this guy doesn't have confidence at this point as a senior, I mean, what are you going to do? He shouldn't be playing. Brad has not gone there with Matt. Like, he hasn't pushed it too hard. He's been really supportive, has had his back in the media. At the same time, they've nudged him a little bit of like, hey, we want to get you locked in. Understand, like, we want to not just save you for the big moments. We need you to have this build up to where it's going to be something we can rely on consistently. So I think that with Matt as being an older guy, it's been there, being kind of that Mr. Cool, chill.
Yeah, he's almost like relaxed. I know when to step up. Just don't worry.
I think Brad's just done a good job. And look, Brad's like some on the outside, very boisterous and going to get after you. But I think he like psychoanalyzes his team.
Yeah.
He knows who he can really get after, who needs that, who doesn't respond as well to it. I don't think you see him go after Coleman as much this year.
I agree.
I think that's because Coleman's earned trust, but maybe he understands like, all right, I've done that side of it.
him enough.
Yeah, I've laid the foundation of that. Now it's a different style of coaching. But I think just the way that he's done it with Matt has helped. So when Matt has that breakout, I think that says something about Brad to continue to keep him in a place where he's confident and can step up and have that moment.
The freshman. We all thought Ty Rodgers was the one that would come in and be ready to play more than anyone. I shouldn't say we all. That's not true. A lot of us, probably most, right, thought that because of his body and the idea that, I mean, you knew that Clark was going to play a lot because we didn't have any other guards and Jaden Epps. But you just sensed that Ty Rodgers would be a guy that could come in and play the style Illinois needed. Well, that really hasn't happened to date. And nobody, I don't think, anticipated Sincere Harris and what he's done. And just, again, I called him Mr. Intangible in the first hour, the idea that he does something right every game that affects a game in a positive way for Illinois. You look at Sky Clark, kind of scuffling right now. Is that a good word to say about Sky Clark?
Yes, that's accurate.
And I know that he was 0 for 10 a few games ago and, bounced back a little bit against Maryland. Last night had a couple of times where you're like, what are we doing? I don't know. You know what? Actually, I don't even want to talk about any kind of a negative thing. Not that it would be negative with Sky. I mean, look, he's a freshman learning. And again, like I told you last week or something, he came in with these gigantic expectations to where he would have to do things twice as well as any of these other three freshmen, I think, for our minds to understand that he's where we need to be. Mm-hmm. I think he might be one of those guys, Derek, that Brad Underwood would say, okay, hold on. I watch more basketball than you. I break basketball down more than you. I know basketball more than you. And I'm telling you that Sky Clark is still doing things that we need done on this team. But that said, he rode the bench quite a long time last night. I don't know that that's going to be out of the ordinary. Not just for Sky. I'm talking there might be a game where you don't see Coleman for 7 minutes. Again, because just the depth of this team and the idea that, all right, Sky doesn't have it. Let's see if Jaden does. And boom, Jaden had it.
Yeah, I agree. There was even a stretch late in the second half where Terrence was on the bench.
Right.
Because Sincere, they didn't want to take him out. They're playing
great call. Jaden
and Sincere along with Coleman and RJ and Matt. So it will be that judgment of who has it going on this night. And if it's not your night or you're scuffling a little bit, then maybe you'll be riding the bench, even though you're a really good player.
Yeah.
But on that note for Sky, yeah, the expectations of former 5-star, was committed to Kentucky. He's not yet that same player. And that's not a big surprise because he hasn't played a whole lot of basketball games over the last year and a half. He's still trying to get in a rhythm. And, yeah, as far as the turnovers, that's been an issue. I think offensively, it's clear that Jaden's a lot more comfortable just in terms of being in attack mode and knowing what his role is, what his MO is offensively. And Brad trusts Jaden a lot in the late game. That's been evident. Even when, he missed an open shot late against Maryland, and we saw the payoff of doubling down on that trust, throwing Jaden out there. And I love what Jaden's bringing. I got to pull up a clip somewhere in the summer. We talked about who's going to be the most impactful freshman. And I'm pretty sure I said Jaden because Sky coming off the injury.
You did.
Ty being buried maybe a little bit with the wings, but there's still a lot of season left to play. I still think that Ty Rodgers, long term, obviously, we all know is going to be a really good player.
Yes.
Team USA, let's not forget that, was just this past summer where he played pretty darn well. But the fact of what looked like not only maybe the most college-ready freshman at Illinois, but one of the most college-ready freshmen in the Big Ten is so much further behind than Sincere Harris. We're like, oh, yeah, he could be like Brandon Podziemski this year, who might play 3 minutes one night and then not play like the next 3. And I know Luke Goody's injury has played a part in that, but talk about a guy that's taken an opportunity and ran with it.
Ooh.
And then when he's out there, just his energy, his relentless motor, his athleticism all just really shows. And Texas is as veteran-laden and athletic as most teams out there, and he belonged out there. Not only he gave us a few minutes and we survived it. He belonged on the court against that caliber of teams. Says a lot about Sincere Harris.
You mentioned Jaden Epps, and you said Brad has a lot of confidence in Jaden Epps. There's something about him that makes him a little bit different, and I mean that in all the positives way.
Well, first of all, we told him I love the shot he missed at Maryland, and it was, he wasn't even a factor in that game because he picked up 2 fouls in 20 seconds. And Matt wasn't even a factor in that game. We went to him in the Virginia game, if you'll remember, and he got right to the front of the rim and just missed one. He's a scorer, and he's a tough nut, and he's a tough kid, and he's no fear. And it didn't matter that he's got a fifth-year senior and, Marcus Carr guarding him. As a freshman, he just wouldn't make a play.
Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you're a tough nut. How about the drive on Marcus Carr?
Fearless. It's a fifth-year guard you're going up against, and just took it right at him in a big moment. It looked like Illinois was going to cruise to victory there in overtime. Then Coleman fouls Marcus Carr for 3. All of a sudden, it's a 2-possession game turned to a 1-point game. And then Jaden just goes right at Carr and scores, and
boom.
Illinois never looks back.
I kind of feel bad for Carr because he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, that could have been a freshman through a fifth year.
Yeah, it could have been anybody.
Epps was just, he made the play. And I did love Coleman on the foul on Marcus Carr just saying, I don't think I touched him. Oh, my goodness. I mean, you literally ripped like his left arm off. Coleman's an interesting dude, too. This is a really...
Any bad foul, you're surprised by it. Anytime you miss a clutch shot, you're a little gimpy back to the sideline. It's just kind of the way it goes, I guess.
This team, man, I'm telling you, Pipes, playing the schedule they've played so far, Brad Underwood is excited with what he's seeing.
We played this schedule knowing that you have to be, I like playing really good teams, and I like playing really well-coached teams, and you find out about yourself. We found out in the Virginia game with 3 minutes to go and didn't get any stops. And we've been able to bury that in practice and work on those situations. Tonight we got them when we needed them. There's growth. And, Maryland was just such severe foul trouble and playing shorthand and guys having to log more minutes. And yet, we stunk it up for 8 minutes in that game and found a way to come back and have a chance to win it. And, we made really bad plays in that game, just plays that weren't smart. And we've talked about those and showed those. So I had no idea, but I knew I liked our character, and I know what winners in your locker room do.
Amen. I just want to play one more Brad Underwood because basically I did the work to put them all together. But a lot of this is similar to what we talked about heavily in the first hour of just this team and how there's just so many options on this Illinois squad.
We've relied on Terrence a lot. He's been a guy that we've I think we want to rely on Matt. Coleman's been in that spotlight a bunch. It was part of our problem in the Virginia game. Who do we go to? And TJ was off. And so I think it's going to be a little bit of that, a crapshoot, so to speak, as we move forward and guys keep establishing their roles. But again, Jaden and TJ finally got going, and Matt tonight. So we'll take it any way we can get it.
Yeah, boom. And again, it's a great problem to have. Don't get me wrong, but my analogy I think makes sense in having a fantasy football team where you can only play 2 wide receivers, and you have 3 of the top receivers in the game, 3 of the top 4, let's say, and you're sitting there going, which one am I sitting? I would be losing my mind if I'm Brad Underwood sitting there at the 12-minute mark of the first half, or maybe even more so the 12-minute mark of the second half, going, do I have the right 5 guys on the court? I mean, because we've just seen every one of these guys, literally every one of these guys has done something to show you that they should get major minutes for this team. And that doesn't include Luke Goody, who is unable to play right now. I mean, wow, Derek.
It's such a benefit. It's also a big task on Underwood to push the right buttons.
It is.
And when you get in a bind or you need to flip a switch and being able to throw out the right counter, the right answer, or when the game's on the line and trying to figure out, again, the choice of Sky or Jaden, or are you going to have Dane out there or no? I know that Underwood ultimately said he regretted having Dane in the closing minutes against Maryland because that allowed Jameer Young to get an open 3 because he didn't switch that action. So
great point.
He's still learning just as the guys are learning each other. But one thing I thought of, how great this is that football captivated you all the way through November. And then you were like, I'm not ready for basketball. I just can't get there. I can't get there. And then football is ending. You got the bowl game in Tampa to look forward to. And now basketball fully has your attention, and they got it rocking. Good times in Atlanta Nation.
The 80s belong to the Illini. I think they're coming back. We have to talk baseball. Is Trevor Valise really calling in at 5:45?
He is.
Okay.
Which is awesome.
This is going to be great.
For all the flack we catch on the text line for being Cardinals slanted and whatnot, they made a huge move today, and we haven't said a peep about it.
Yep. All it took was us beating a number 2 team in the country.
Yeah, that's pretty good reason. That's a pretty good reason, I guess.
I will say this, and you're on YouTube. Pipes does have his Cardinals hat on right now, and wearing it proudly, I must say. Kyle just keeps shaking his head over here. These Cub fans. Back to talk baseball, but we're going to start with Bellinger. And how is Jamison Talley when we're back? It's the drive.
Now, the NIL jersey lineup for your Fighting Illini. Number 55, Sky Clark. Number 15, R.J. Melendez. Number 10, Luke Goody. Number 20, Ty Rogers. Number 0, Terrence Shannon Jr. And number 33, Coleman Hawkins. Get yours at State Farm Center on game day, online or in stores. Game Day Spirit, official fan store of the Fighting Illini.
'Tis the season for fresh-cut Christmas trees and greens to bring the sweet scent of holidays to your home. And at Prairie Gardens, you know you'll get your perfect fresh-cut Christmas tree with balsams, Fraser firs, and more. And incredible fragrant wreaths, fresh evergreen boughs, and garlands, all at prices you'll love. Plus, poinsettias fresh from the greenhouses. Exclusively at Prairie Gardens. Extraordinary gardening, home decor, framing, and...
Ho, ho, ho! Totally Christmas! If you're in the market for a new car battery, you could go to one of those big box stores, except there's no guarantee you'll be served by an actual car expert.
Clean up in aisle 3.
You could pick a battery off the shelf, except it might be close to expiring. Or you could just come into Interstate. Don't make a big box store blunder. With competitive prices and a more personal, reliable approach, Interstate Batteries is the clear-cut choice if you want to guarantee yourself a new and trustworthy car battery. They're open and ready to serve you at 2504 North Mattis Avenue in Champaign.
Hi, I'm Troy Lands, owner of Lands Inc. Your heating and cooling system works hard for you all year long to keep you and your family comfortable. That's why it's important to have it maintained and serviced regularly. Our techs are ready to help you with all your indoor air quality, humidity, and filtration needs. Visit landsinc.com today for specials on a brand new train system for your home and to see for yourself why it's hard to stop a train. At Lands Inc., our commitment is to you, the customer. I'm Troy Lands, and you can count on my company because you can count on me.
Since 1994, Matex Service Company has been the preferred heating, cooling, plumbing, sewer, and electrical provider in East Central Illinois. Now is the best time to ensure your home's heating and air system is ready to keep you comfortable year-round. So, your area's top-rated service team is giving you 1 month of heating and air maintenance for free when you join our ProTune monthly maintenance program. With a team of thoroughly trained, licensed, and background check technicians ready to serve you, Matex has the solutions you need to ensure your home is comfortable all year long. Matex. Feel the difference.
You have money laying all around your house. You just don't know it. And no, I don't mean selling your great-grandma's good china. I mean all the old metal items you don't want to use or get rid of. Don't pay someone to haul it away. Bring it into Max Twin City Recycling and get paid to have it taken off your hands. They love new customers and are more than willing to walk you through their process step by step. Come check them out at 2808 North Lincoln Avenue in Urbana.
Starting it over is what we do at Max Twin City Recycling.
Welcome winter this December at Urbana Park District's Anita Purvis Nature Center. The Winter Solstice celebration is December 17th from 4 to 7 p.m. Everyone is welcome. People under age 15 must be accompanied by an adult. Join us around a fire for snacks, stories, and tree decorating. You will also get the chance to reflect on 2022 and look ahead to 2023. This is a free event, but please call the Nature Center to reserve your spot. 217-384-4062. Welcome winter December 17th at Anita Purvis Nature Center. Learn more at urbanaparks.org.
Crossroads Contractor Supply, bringing us our Stevie J Broadcasting Law Enforcement Official of the Month.
Patrol Lieutenant, Champaign County Sheriff's Department, Law Enforcement Official of the Month, Tony Shaw. I think doing a great job. We have crime, it appears shootings more often than ever, and I think I blame totally the effort to defund the police, the effort to disrespect the police. I think there's mental illness after COVID and things like that. Are you seeing a little more of that?
Yeah, so crime's definitely on the rise, and I think there is
a correlation there. I am, like I said, I am encouraged by the applicants that we are getting and those that are entering the field now. They're very dedicated to what they do, and they're entering at a time that is difficult, and they understand that, and they go into that willingly. And they can always reach out. In fact, I encourage it. When we do get some of our applicants, quite honestly, one of the biggest sales points is the ride-along and the bond that we have amongst the deputies. And so the deputies really deserve all the credit.
Crossroads Contractor Supply, delivering within a 150-mile radius of Champaign-Urbana, supporting our law enforcement official of the month.
Kelsey Furniture in downtown Tuscola sells Tempur-Pedic beds. What's it like?
I'm going to tell you right now, Stevie, that thing is the best thing I've ever slept on in my life. My wife and I both have said we've never had better night's sleep. And the people at Kelsey's were fantastic. Brian is the guy that helped us. You know, as much as I did my research, he had a world of knowledge about beds themselves. Oh, man, it's like sleeping on a cloud, man.
Kelsey Furniture, downtown Tuscola. Hi, it's Stevie J. Sit back and relax and take the drive with Lon Tay and Derek Piper. Weekdays 4 to 6 right here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
Oh, yeah! Just out of nowhere, Harold Reynolds come into the Philo studios. Wanted to get a glimpse at the Christmas tree in downtown Philo that is beautiful. I can't remember now because I'm not looking at Twitter, but someone that listens to our show, Derek, actually, he and his wife came over, that or he and his girlfriend, I apologize, came over and saw the tree and took a picture with it in the background, and they're like, hey, it didn't disappoint. So if you're driving through Philo, make sure if you're on, of course, 130 there, make sure you take a right before the railroad tracks if you're heading north, right south of the tracks if you're heading south, and come see the great tree here in Philo. They've done a wonderful job.
It's really cool.
Jamison Tyone is how you say that. That all it took was me YouTubing that for 5 seconds. So I apologize there. What you said he did what last year with the Yankees?
He was 14-5 with the Yankees.
Wow.
Sub 4 ERA, 3.91. It's pretty good. Great record. Obviously a lot of run support there in New York.
No doubt. Well, the Cardinals saw what happened when they got one of the Yankees pitchers.
Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, and he really did well. Kyle, do you offhand know what the Cubs – was that a free agent signing or was that was a free agent signing? Okay, so the Cubs signed Jamison Tyone, who will be what, maybe a third starter? I don't know, on that team, maybe higher. Right now.
With Stroman.
Yeah, Stroman.
I think they still want another arm. They've been linked to Carlos Rodon as a possibility. I don't know what else that market looks like for them. I'm not.
Okay.
I've been kind of dialed in on hoops a little bit too much. Maybe right. I'll lean on Kyle, who's now become the resident Cubs expert.
Yeah, Kyle.
Yeah, I like the move. The Cubs just need to add pitching, and he's an innings eater. He had 177 innings last year.
He's a big boy.
He is, yeah. He can throw 94, 95.
Looks like a sinker kind of type, too.
So, yeah, I like the move. He's not the top of the rotation guy that the Cubs are still kind of missing, but there really isn't that out there unless it is Carlos Rodon. So,
what about Cody Bellinger? Now, this is a kid. This is a guy. Well, he is a kid to me. Derek, it's a guy that I always kind of saw in a Cardinals uniform. I always kind of liked the idea of Bellinger. He was unbelievable. He's had a little bit of a fall off, but he's someone that can get hot, and at Wrigley Field, I could see him doing a lot of damage.
The 2019 NL MVP, right?
Is that right?
A lot of pop. The average really tanked off for him. I know he had an injury. I think that was late 21 and then didn't really bounce back after that. But it's been tabbed as kind of a reclamation project for the Cubs. They can take a roll of the dice on a team that's not expected to obviously go deep in the playoffs, but it's a bit of a lottery ticket situation, and maybe you rechannel what he had working a few years ago with the Dodgers, and he's shown the ability to be one of the more dangerous bats in the National League when he has it rolling. Can they find that again out of him? I don't know.
Kyle, we've gone this entire time without saying the name of the guy that's going to the Cardinals.
Wilson Contreras.
Ow!
As Pat Hughes likes to say.
He does say that, doesn't he?
He does.
But before that, I want to get Kyle's thought on Bellinger.
Yeah, like Derek said, I think it's worth a shot. 1-year deal if he's terrible.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt. And the Cubs just were terrible defensively in the outfield last year, which is something that they really needed to address. And Bellinger, regarded as a really good defensive center. They were. But he's regarded as a good defensive player in center field, can play a little first too. So definitely like it. But I do not like this next news.
Yes.
Lon.
Yes.
You called this.
Wilson Contreras.
You called this.
I did.
And it was almost like we brought it up during the season as like a troll to Cubs fans. Like, wouldn't it be funny?
Right.
We know the Cardinals need a catcher. Wouldn't it be funny if this happened? And it's like, ha, ha, ha. And then it's like, no, it actually makes a lot of sense. Here it is.
I was born in 1970. I'm 52. Drink. There have been times where the Cardinals have not been great, right? There were some times in the 70s. There were some times in the 90s. The one constant that the Cardinals have had in my entire lifetime, for the most part, is a really good catcher. Ted Simmons, Darryl Porter, Tom Pagnozzi was good defensively. Tony Pena was really good. Just go on down the list. Mike Matheny, of course, Yadi Molina, who essentially caught for a fifth of my life, 2/5 of my life in St. Louis. Now you have this major void. There was zero doubt in my mind, Derek, zero, that the Cardinals were not going to go out and address the catching position like I thought they would. I did not see Ivan Herrera being the guy and them just taking a chance on him being good. I did not see last year's catcher. I can't think of his name.
Andrew Kisner.
We obviously
we forgot it for a reason.
He hit under 200. The Cardinals were going to make something happen to have a good catcher. They have too good of a team otherwise not to do that. Now, it is interesting that the last 20 years you've had the best defensive catcher in baseball. Now, I don't know, Pudge was probably in that last 20 years, and you obviously throw him in there. But you get what I'm saying. Over the last 20 years, collectively,
Buster
Yadi
Posey
Molina
was pretty good, too.
Yeah, Buster Posey really good as well, but could hit top-notch. Yadi had some moments where he could hit the ball. There's no doubt about that. However, Wilson Contreras is a guy that brings an all-star kind of effort to your team. He's a guy that offensively we are going to sit there night in and night out, Pipes, and say, whoa, we're getting 2 hits out of a catcher every night. I mean, the Cubs batted him high in the order. Mm-hmm. This is just, I think, a fantastic move by the Cardinals. Could they have unloaded a lot of prospects to get Sean Murphy? Could they have unloaded prospects to get a Toronto Blue Jays catcher? Sure, they could have. They have them. They have plenty of money to spend.
Yes.
And to go out and get Wilson Contreras, and I'm going to say this because I believe Trevor's on hold. I have said this how many times did I look at Trevor and you, Pipes, and I said, I personally, as a non-Cub fan, as somebody that can't stand the Chicago Cubs, I personally will be mad at the Chicago Cubs for getting rid of Wilson Contreras. Because I think when you have an elite catcher like he, and maybe not defensively, but certainly when you put it all together, when you have someone like that on your team in one of the hardest positions to fill, you do not mess around and let that guy leave and or get away. And that is what's happened now with Wilson Contreras, who's now a St. Louis Cardinal. I mean, where does he bat? I haven't even gone into the idea of where he fits in this lineup yet. I'm excited about it.
Fun to think about. Could you slot him in at 2? Or would you bat him at 5 or 6 behind Nato and Goldschmidt, a guy that hit 22 home runs last year, 47 extra bases? How many seasons of Yadi Molina would we have to go back and combine to get 47 extra base hits?
Yeah.
The fact to not have just an automatic out.
Yep.
He's a really good hitter. He's got pop. And he's got a good arm, at least behind the plate. I do find it funny, like early on Contreras years, like, Contreras is just about as good defensively as Yadi. I mean, are you sure? Yeah. It's kind of the knock now, is what they're saying. I know that it's the pitch framing and it's all that kind of deal, which we might not know. We knew Yadi was outstanding in managing a staff, being able to frame the pitches or just whatever you want to call that. Maybe we won't fully appreciate what that dynamic that Yadi brought and how high level it was until you see whoever it is next, not just Contreras, but to have him for 5 years. I know he's 30. I don't care if the fifth year you're like, oh man,
I know.
Maybe we got to DH him because he's not as durable.
Yep.
I couldn't be more thrilled. And sorry, Trevor, as we transition to you, some of the pain coming from the Cubs fan base is semi-enjoyable.
Trevor?
So how about Illinois basketball?
Be honest.
Pretty good.
Trevor, without me having to hit the dump button, does this annoy you? Not just the fact that he's gone, but that he's going to the Cardinals? I would assume the answer is yes.
I mean, yeah, annoy isn't the right word. I think I'm in the seventh circle of whatever Cubs baseball hell is right now. I mean, Lon, you know this. I've said this for like 2 years now. I thought when, the rumors were swirling about the Cubs are going to get rid of most of their core, if not all of their core. You heard me. I kept saying if there's one guy I don't get rid of, it's Wilson.
Amen. I was right there with you.
And at the time, that was a hot take. People were saying, you got to sign Javi long term, or there's no way you let your captain Rizzo walk. And not that I wanted those guys to leave either, but Wilson was the one to me where, again, I know the defensive numbers haven't been as great lately, but you just look at the position and the offensive value he brings from that position. He's a plus offensive catcher, which is like saying, I'm trying to think of like the comp in basketball or football. Like, he's the most durable running back ever who's never going to get hurt, and he's rushing for 200 yards a game. Like, it doesn't matter if he fumbles every once in a while.
Right.
And so to me, it just seemed like that is one of the hardest things in baseball to get. And on top of that, and I know it's corny, and I hate corny stuff, but hang with me, he was the emotional, center of this organization for several years. I mean, the dude was literally bawling at the thought of getting traded at the trade deadline.
Wow.
That crushes you as a fan watching that. So half of it is him leaving, which is sad enough. Now you get to the other half of where he's going. And I think the proper word would be despondent. I am rather despondent at the moment.
Trevor.
Everything is awesome. Oh! Everything is cool when
he's going to wear the bird on the bat. Hey, is that Wilson Contreras in red? Oh, it's Cardinals red. Oh.
How do you cope? And I'm asking this genuinely. How do you cope with your favorite player on your favorite team now being potentially one of the favorite players, at least, again, emotion-wise, energy-wise, on your most hated team? I don't hate anything as much as I hate Cardinals baseball.
Yep.
How does one cope with your favorite thing in the world being copy-pasted onto your least favorite thing in the world?
That's well said. That's well said. It's funny you went with the emotional side because I was going to say this, Trevor, and get your opinion on it, but you gave it to us. I think that Wilson Contreras walks into that clubhouse day one with tons of respect from those Cardinals players and that Cardinals squad that has had to battle against him and understand, and they've understood how good Wilson Contreras has been for so many years. It would be almost like that. It'd be like you battling another team that, like your rival, and just sitting there the whole time going, can you imagine if we ever had Contreras? Like how good he would be for us. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and he's right next to you in the dugout. And you're like, oh, wait, he's here. I am mad still, Trevor, at the Cubs. I'm still mad at the Cubs.
Picture, if you're trying to equate and you're rolling your eyes, right? Picture like Io in the middle of 2 years ago just being dropped on Indiana's team and watching him ball.
Oh, my goodness.
Yuck. Now, I'm not saying Wilson's talent level, respective to those around him, is equivalent to Io. I'm just saying in terms of fan love and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Trevor, do you blame Wilson at all for choosing the side of crossing that rivalry? Or was he sticking it at all? I know I was listening to some 670 The Score on the way home from Midway today. Some belief is maybe tried to stick it to the Cubs a little bit for not being more aggressive in trying to sign him. Seemed like they were set in, all right, we're moving on. We don't want to commit to the type of contract that he wanted.
Yeah, that's sort of like the predicament a Cubs fan would find themselves in that, like, you're not sure whether to get mad at the team or him. And I don't want to get mad at him clearly,
Right.
again, last year, he's out there crying at the idea of leaving the Cubs.
Mm.
So I doubt that this was sort of like 100% revenge motivated, like go stick it to him. But at the same time, I get it, right? Like if you're Wilson and you won't get paid and you won't get paid, you won't get paid, and then suddenly the team that's the division rival of that team wants you and shows you the value that team isn't willing to show you. I certainly understand the ambition to be like, okay, well now I'm going to go prove why the Cubs should have paid, overpaid, whatever you want to consider it for me, by beating them every year, which again is part of the nightmarish angle.
Yeah.
Of this. I would have been very upset today. I would have texted you guys angrily today if the Colorado Rockies signed it.
Exactly.
So the fact that it's the St. Louis Cardinals, and I'm just envisioning, again, I don't want to equate it because it's not, but I feel like it's Pujols again, where it's like, I'm going to get this 18 times a year. I know it's going down to like, what, 14
Right,
with
yeah,
the new schedule?
right.
But I'm going to have to watch. Like, I can't even tell you how many times I'm already mentally preparing myself to watch a walk-off RBI double from Wilson Contreras.
Yep.
And he's fired up and he's yelling. Like, I don't know if I can take it, and it hasn't even started yet. It's like if the Packers just got another great quarterback. I feel like I don't even
good
know.
call.
I don't even know what to think right now. I can't prepare myself to go through this all over again.
Hey, we got like a minute.
Real quick, Trevor, as far as the defensive stuff, you've watched it a lot closer than I have and Lon as far as the day-to-day with the Cubs. Like, what is there that has now national people saying, well, you know, the pitch framing stuff, how glaring is that and how much effect does that have?
If I'm being honest with you, I thought my reaction to reading all that on Twitter today was that's a combination of sour grapes and a little surprising from my perspective. I don't think. Look, I'm not saying he's a pitch frame artist or master, but reading that today, like reading Cubs people say, well, you know, the Cubs basically decided they didn't want to pay that much for him because of the defensive struggles. And I'm like, whoa, defensive struggles? Like, I don't know if I'm ready to go that far with it. And maybe I'm just biased because I like the kid so much. But I don't think that they were glaring enough to warrant being legitimately concerned about it. Now, maybe you look at it and go, like, after in the context of having had Yachty, right? Like, you kind of think, is he going to be as good a game manager with all these pitchers? It's probably impossible to be, which also sickens me to say. But I mean, hey, look, it's true. Like, I don't think Wilson Contreras is going to get as much out of a 43-year-old Adam Wainwright as Yachty could get out of a 42-year-old Adam Wainwright. But at the same time, I don't think it's enough to say, well, I'm fine with him walking. Like, I don't think it was it shouldn't have been a deciding factor.
I think that's well
from the
said.
Cubs' perspective.
I think the thing, too, that would bug me, Trevor, on your end, and I'm not speaking for you, it's the idea that Wilson just happened to become a free agent when Yachty was retiring. It's almost like this was meant to be. And it wasn't, but in a way, if I were a Cubs fan, I'd just be sitting there going, well, of course. I mean, you guys know me. You know me from my text to you at 10 o'clock at night when the Suns' Devin Booker decides to miss his first 12 shots, and I'm like, well, of course he doesn't shoot well tonight. That would be me right now going, of course Yachty retires and Contreras is available, and boom, it happens. I mean, I think that's what would frustrate me. And Trevor, I apologize, but we got like 15 seconds. We'll let you have the last word. It's great to hear your voice, man.
Lon, keep firing on those parlays. One of these days you're gonna hit it big. Derek, just keep grinding. One of these days you might win the content wars, and we'll all be happy.
Oh, I like it.
Hold on a second.
You gotta fight that good fight, Trev.
Miss you, Trevor. Hey, can you honestly call in sometime and talk Illinois basketball for a little bit?
All right.
All right, buddy.
Turn you down.
Tell Grandma hi.
Will do.
I'm out.
See you, Trev.
I'm out. He's out. That's what we say there. Here's what we'll do. We had Tom Verducci queued up. Tomorrow, I want to find some sound from some of the so-called experts on not only Bellinger going to the Cubbies, Jameson Taillon, and then, hey, how does a guy from the Dominican drop a fly ball? Because there's no sun in America. And then also on Wilson Contreras, Contreras, as you like to say with Pat Hughes. Pat Hughes is good. We'll talk more on that. Do we want to hear from Claves? Do we want to hear from Wheeler?
Yes.
Oh, speaking of Claves, guys, tonight I got to get out. Tonight is the countdown to opening day. Wednesday nights from 6 to 8. You're going to hear this now. Cardinals baseball countdown to opening day. Mike Claiborne, Matt Pauley, who's the new guy there. They're going to a lot of different guests. You're going to hear that tonight in 1 minute or so. We're out of here. Pipes, great job. Kyle, thank you. We're going.
Sure, we offer push-button mortgage applications, but when it comes to getting the money for the house of your dreams, we offer something far more advanced, and we call her Brenda. A real person who knows you better than any app and works hard to make things simple, cutting through red tape, meeting you outside the office, and in between life's busy moments. For a great rate and a great deal, call Brenda at Iroquois Federal Champaign and let her help you get home. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 472172.
Happy holidays from Pia's. Sports fans, take note of your Christmas party from 5 to 8 p.m. Thursday, December 15th, and Friday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. December 16th. Pia Claus will make an appearance and hand out gifts from J&J Ventures along with holiday cash. Enjoy Coors Light, Captain Morgan, and Miller Lite with a great holiday spread. Thursday, December 15th, 5 to 8 p.m. and Friday,